And we are live. Awesome. So today we are live with Derek from the Irresistible Rider. I'm really looking forward to this live stream. Derek, it's actually the second time that we talked today. This morning we were on a mastermind call. It's always a good day when I'm able to talk to you twice.
Yeah. Well, it's good to, instead of being behind the keyboard, just to have interaction with people, isn't it?
Exactly. That's one thing that I really love about Substack, that it does feel like it's way more of a community, and a lot of people, creators, are connecting more with each other and collaborating more, which to me was really a game changer. Coming from years of writing on Medium, where it was just you write something by yourself, you hit the publish button, and an algorithm then takes care of it. Substack
Yeah.
feels way more like collaborating and community. How does that feel to you?
Yeah, I mean, Medium's like an interesting comparison, isn't it? Because you'd sometimes speak to each other through the comments. You have to find someone article and comment on it and hope they pick it up. But at least here, you can send messages to each other. You can engage through like notes, which is much quicker, plus live. There's just like a whole bundle of ways that you can connect and have conversation and build relationships like much, much quicker. The people I built relationships with on Medium was good, but it was a bit of a kind of snail's pace, because you just had to see them appear in the comment every now and again. But Substack, yeah, much stronger at building that sense of community and people able to work together and support each other, which is like one of the best ways to grow, really, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Even just having the option to send someone a DM is a game changer in terms of building your network. Because, like you say, on Medium, you have to check the comment section on one of your articles, right? And that, like, then you need to take it to email, and it's way more clunky. But here on Substack, if I see like a creator that I really like their work, I can just instantly send them a DM. And that way you can build your connection and use that maybe for doing a Substack live together, like we're doing now, or maybe exchanging newsletter recommendations, right? Very effective growth strategy on Substack. So I just like how Substack is built more for community, not just content.
Yeah. Some of my DMs suggest that people need to like improve their relationship skills a little bit. Do you know what I mean? It's like, just because you've got the DM option, do you know what I mean? Don't on day one, message someone who's like 10 times your size and then say, right, can I do a guest post for you or something? Do you know what I mean? So you still need the relationship skills, and it is relational, isn't it? You can't just like DM people and expect them to do something for you, but it is a brilliant opportunity for just building relationships if you're willing to do the give and take and put in it like a little bit of time.
Let's say, like, theoretically, someone wants to reach out to you to collaborate with you, or to write a guest post for the Irresistible Writer. What would be like an approach that would work, versus all the other DMs that you get that you're like, this is not the right approach?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things is you want to feel like they haven't just copied and pasted to 100 people, you know? So sometimes I'll get a message and someone saying, I want to be a good writer. Can you help me? You know,
Mm.
and it's like, well, I've written like 500 free articles on Medium. I want to feel like saying, have you read any of them? Don't expect me to put in all the work. So I think you want people to feel like they've read your stuff. I mean, if it's a request like a guest post or something like that, then it needs to be like a reasonable request in terms of what somebody's niche is and how much they've kind of written. And I would say if you want to engage with someone who's much bigger than you, that you probably want to start a bit lower than that, and you might just want to offer a compliment. And then you might want to say how it's helped you, their work, and then maybe at a later point, you might want to ask a small piece of advice. And you kind of just build up with that. I think you've got to be careful what you're asking from people, and it's got to be like in proportion to the relationship. Not because if you're a big creator, I mean, I don't know what big is, but just like bigger than other people, than the person you're speaking to. It's not that people are horrible if they're bigger. It's just like they've only so many hours in the day, and if you've got all sorts of DM, you've got to kind of be selective about how you respond and stuff like that. And you've just got to like respect people's time and that sort of stuff, but I found, people 10 times my size would offer advice and support as long as you do it in a very appropriate way. And but you probably start by, compliment them, seeing how their work has helped you. So then folk then think, actually, you're a serious writer. Do you know what I mean? You're putting in the work. And if you've put in the work, I might help you along the way, But like, if you're just, I'm not going to put in any work, can you just give me the silver bullet,
Mhm.
And there isn't one, isn't there?
Yeah. I think a lot of reaching out, a lot of messages, they feel like some people want to take something from you rather than give you something. And I think if you approach any other creator with a win-win scenario and you really think first what would be valuable to them, like how is it almost impossible for them to say no to my request, like it's because you add so much value to it, that's already a game changer versus how can I get this recommendation or how can I get a guest post, right? That feels very much like taking rather
Yeah,
than making something a win-win scenario.
yeah,
By the way, for this live stream, anyone watching, if you have a question, feel free to just put it in the chat. I already saw that we had Philip in the chat saying hello. Hey Philip, good to see you here, man. Yeah, for anyone who has a question for me or for Derek, feel free to just post it here in the chat. Um,
yeah.
Derek, let's take it back a few steps. What were your early days on Substack like? And was there anything in particular that you struggled with on Substack?
Um, well, I struggled to understand what was going on. I mean, well, I'd come from Medium or even like on Twitter or whatever. You understand what's going on. There's one page you're posting on this page or whatever it might be, and I landed on Substack, and it was like, yeah, it was like, what is going on? There's like profiles, you need a publication name, and then you've got a page, and then there's this notes thing, and then you've got chat, who am I chatting to? And I remember at the beginning just going, oh my word, I'm either going to not bother or I need to like just take a bit of time to get my head around it. So I think that was like the massive thing for me when I started. It was just like, compared to any other platform, there was just like a lot to set up. It almost felt like you were setting up a mini kind of website in the sense of your profile and your tags and how you wanted the layout and where everything was going and stuff like that. So it felt like there was a lot to learn in that sense. I mean, I had an advantage of writing was straightforward, because I'd done like maybe 500 articles on Medium, 20,000 followers or something. So I think for people starting on Substack, it depends whether you're starting on Substack and you're also starting to write, then you've got two different things to learn, isn't it? Or if you're a writer from LinkedIn or Medium or somewhere else and you're coming to Substack, then you've got the like writing thing sorted and you just want to learn the platform. And but yeah, if you are a new writer and you think, right, I'm going to be going to start writing, creating content, then yeah, you need the writing skills, and then you've got to be like, how does this platform work? But it's almost like once you get your head around it, it's kind of straightforward a little bit, but I think in the early days it is quite complex, but that's because there's so many opportunities here, isn't there?
Yeah, that's very true and very relatable for us as well. When we started on Substack, it has so many features, which is what I love about the platform. It makes it unique and better, in my opinion, than most other social media platforms out there. But the learning curve is quite steep, right? When you get started, it's like, oh my God, I have notes, I have my publication, which is different from my profile. I can set up paid subscriptions, I can use a chat, right? Newsletter recommendations. It can be overwhelming quite quickly. And what we always recommend is like take it step by step. So indeed, first focus on one of those features. If you're completely new to like online writing, I would say just focus either on writing notes or on your long form posts and do that for a few weeks until you really get the hang of it. And then move on to the second feature that you want to tackle. Because if you try to do it all at once, it can just be very overwhelming very quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's like brilliant advice because actually you can panic in the beginning that if you haven't got everything working, you're going to fail in some way. But like when you're new, it actually doesn't matter, does it? But when you're just new, it doesn't matter if your page is not set up right and if your notes aren't great because you're just getting a feel for it. And it's not going to make the difference really at the beginning, whether you get one view or two views, you know what I mean? So it's just like, And it is, once you've learned a bit how one thing works, then that's fine. Once you know how tags works or how your profile works or your publication, once you've kind of digested that, it becomes simple. And then you've got like headspace for the next thing. And within 5 or 6 weeks, if you do like one key thing a week, within 5, 6 weeks, you'll have it all sorted. And then you can focus on actually, how do I become effective at this? How do I grow? And what's my strategy going to be?
Mhm. Let's talk more about that. So let's say someone has set up their publication, they are publishing their first posts. What is like the first thing you would recommend Substack creators do if they're looking to grow their audience, right? They have it set up, now they're looking to gain new readers, grow a following. What would be like the first thing you would recommend people to do?
So I would first check: are they a writer? Do they know how to write? How do they know how to do headlines, hooks, intros? Are they clear on who their audience is and all that sort of stuff? Who their ideal reader is, which you need for any platform. So if someone hasn't got any of that stuff sorted, then you need to kind of work through some of that stuff first and not jump to kind of hacking the platform, as it were. You need to kind of go slow so that you can go kind of longer, as it were, And I mean, so let's assume that someone's quite new to writing as well, and creating and stuff. In that sense, my biggest advice is always, step one is to just get going.
Mhm.
Step one isn't to get an audience. Step one isn't to get followers. Step one isn't to make money. Step one is to get going so that you can write on a regular basis. Because actually, there's so many people who don't pass that simple test, and it's not as easy as you think. You have imposter syndrome. It's hard to be disciplined, be consistent is difficult. That's like the first thing. Even if you're not writing to anyone, if you write for a month to no one, as long as you be consistent, whether it's notes or long form, that's like almost the first thing that you've really got to get sorted. And certainly for me, that brought up all sorts of inner issues that I was really surprised by. That you feel a fraud and you doubt, who can I help? And when people don't read your stuff, rather than thinking, oh, nobody's reading that, maybe I need to improve it, you think, oh my word, I'm useless, nobody's interested in anything I've got to say, and you crawl up. And this big existential kind of angst. And you've got to kind of get over all of that. Otherwise, it's going to kind of kneecap you. So my first thing is just like focus on just writing. If it's long form, maybe once a week. If it's notes, maybe once a day, and do that for a set period and set that as your kind of aim. And once you're doing that, then you can go to step two, which is probably, if step one's get going, then for me, step two is get good, as in, how do I write? How do I write hooks or headlines? How do I write intros? What do my audience want from me? That sort of stuff would be the kind of second step. I don't know. I mean, that's what I would say. I don't know. What would you say, the same or different?
I really like your perspective there. First, get going. It's something that it's easy to overlook because it's like, okay, how do I grow my audience? But first of all, make sure you get going. First of all, make sure you are consistent. So I totally agree with you there, Derek. And I think we have two interesting questions in the chat. One that directly follows up with this. To get going, what would you do? Right. So what would be some of your advice for someone to actually write and publish consistently?
So let's assume that it's long form that we're talking about. Yeah. Then, aim for 500-600 words, make it kind of manageable, and just decide to share something that you've learned. That's probably the easiest thing to do, isn't it? Just share something that you've learned. And you might know what your like niche and topic is, but if you don't, then that doesn't matter at this stage. Just share something that you've learned and just get in the process of sharing that. Just think, what have I learned in the last 6 months, or what have I learned that's important about life, and just share a lesson, share a practical thing, and just put it out there. And remember, the goal is to get going. So if you press publish, actually, you've already won. And you've got to tell yourself, I've pressed publish, I've already won. Because so many people do. I mean, I have people buying my courses and they haven't got going, and I want to throttle them a little bit, I have people like commenting on my stuff, and even you think you're getting to know them really well, and then you look at the publication and like you can't find it because they spend all their time in comments and courses. So
Mm,
don't underrate, get going, and becoming regular. You're actually already ahead of a lot of people.
yeah.
Um, I think that I was hearing the head of Kit speak. Um, Forgotten his name off the top of my head. Um, but he was talking about this principle that on platforms, 99% of people are consumers and 1% are creators,
Hmm.
and that's probably even true on Substack. There'll be even people with publications spend a lot of time just searching around. So if you focus on the creating, then you're already like ahead of a lot of people, and you should congratulate yourself regardless of if anybody is reading it.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. If you're already creating, you're already setting yourself apart from most people on the platform. Absolutely. Um, I see a few questions in the chat. Well, one question we can answer quite quickly: define long versus short form writing. So, short form writing, I would really see that as Substack notes, which is just this short snippet, right? You can't really write an essay on notes. It's short, 1, 2 sentences, or 3, 4 sentences, something like that, a very short snippet. Where long form is more like the posts you send out through your publication. And that is actually what people will receive in their email inbox. Right. So Substack notes is what people will see on their feed, on their Substack feed. Um, Another very interesting question: is it bad to approach Substack as a revenue stream for creatives, so non marketers or non business types? What do you think about that, Derek?
Say that again. Is it okay to approach it not to make money?
So the question is it bad to approach Substack as a revenue stream for creatives?
No. I mean,
Why?
uh, well, because there's nothing wrong with making money, is there? Because you can only make money. I don't get as much stick as I used to, but sometimes you get stick, like if you're making money as a writer or as creative and it's a pyramid scheme and it's a scam and it's all this sort of stuff. But the reality is, if you're making money, it's because somebody is seeing value in what you offer. It's actually quite hard to make money. You've got to offer a lot of value. You've got to help people a lot. You can't just like, I don't know, come up with a salesy campaign and make some money. You've got to really prove that this makes a difference in people's lives. And I probably struggled at the beginning. Well, at the beginning, I had nobody reading my stuff. But once I had people, this idea that I could get paid for it, I had to, I had to do some mental inner work to get writing in the first place. But then when I got paid, I had to do more inner work because it's like, these words of mine are not worth, are they worth money? That was quite a
Mhm.
struggle to work through. And I had to tell myself, no, actually, this can really help people. And if it can help people, then it's okay to charge for it. And by charging for it, then that gives me, the motivation to add even more help. So I think that really making money in a lot of cases, you're just helping people. You're solving their pains and solving their problems. And I've done 6 digital products. I'm kind of over that issue now. And I just see actually the more people who buy my stuff, the more that I help them. And I think that it's a great thing. I love it when people book coaching sessions. I get quite excited because I know they're going to tell me what their problems are and I'm going to help them to get started or to write or whatever it might be. And so, yeah, I kind of love it now, really.
Mhm. I totally agree, and I always say that there's nothing noble about being a starving artist. If you are, you're writing, you're sharing value, you deserve to get paid for that. That's also one of our mottos at Write Build Skill, right? You deserve to get paid for writing about, your expertise.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, absolutely go for it. And there's absolutely nothing bad with getting paid for your creativity. In fact, people who pay, they pay more attention. That's what we find. That's what you find as well, Derek, with the people who buy your coaching or your digital products. They are
Yeah, yeah.
usually more invested because they are literally financially invested.
Yeah. It's roasting here. It's really hot in Manchester, which is very rare. It normally rains. And so I just went to the shop before we met and I bought an ice cream because it was really hot. But I give the guy money for ice cream, but then I really appreciate the value he was given to me because I was really hot and I wanted ice cream, and he wasn't scamming me, it was a fair trade, and I was really grateful. I was very happy to go and give him money. if I'd arrived and he hadn't on, I would have been so gutted because I'd be like, I want to give you money for this because it's going to help me. And that's fine, isn't it? And it's just the same with you guys helping people understand how to grow on Substack or whatever it might be, it's fair kind of value.
I actually see we have Sinem here in the chat with us. Hey, Sinem, good to see you here. And that reminds me that this Thursday we will have a Substack Growth Masterclass, which is completely free. Free to sign up. In that masterclass, we share exactly how we went from 0 to 10,000 subscribers in 10 months on Substack. So whether you're brand new to Substack or you're already on Substack for a few months but you're struggling to grow, I would recommend signing up for that masterclass and specifically send Derek a message because Derek is one of our partners helping us promote the masterclass. So if you want to attend the masterclass, send Derek a message and he has a special link for you. Again, it's completely free to sign up. Even if you cannot attend live, sign up for it so you'll get the replay to your email inbox. Let's see, we have a few more questions in the chat. Should you wait until you reach a certain number of subscribers before turning your Substack publication into a paid one? That's a great question. What do you think of that, Derek?
I have no idea. I think that you probably got more wisdom than me on this, but I would probably say, so on one level, there's nothing wrong with adding a paid. You can turn paid at any point, you know what I mean, and add it on. I said, but I probably would ask someone where they're at in their journey, because if the most important thing is to get going and then get good, and once you get good, to start getting results in terms of people following you and people engaging with you. And it's better to build a solid foundation around that, which then you can turn into money. The only danger with turning on paid subs too early is potentially it can dilute your attention, because then you've got to start creating things to help paid sub. And if you're still inexperienced or you haven't built a big audience yet, you're giving your time to a number of things, and you might want to just get clarity on who you're serving, why you're serving them, what their pain points are, what solutions you've got for them. And but I mean, there's no right or wrong rule on it. But certainly, if I was coaching someone quite new and they were going quite well with subscribers, unless they were really strong as a writer and were really confident they knew their audience, etc., and had loads of spare time, I think you just got to be careful you don't dilute your energies, as it were. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, that's great advice. I would say if you turn on your paid, like if you start a paid tier with paid content too early, then you are diluting your focus. Let's say you have 0 paid subscribers or only 1 or 2. You have to put in quite a lot of effort in creating premium content for 1 or 2 paid subscribers. However, and here's something that I never thought of a few months ago, and this was super interesting to see with some of our Substack system students. They would turn on their paid tier without having any paid content yet. And they would actually see that some free subscribers out of the blue, out of nowhere, would join their paid tier and the only reason was that they gotten so much value from the free content that they were like, I just want to support you. I'm joining your $10 a month paid tier just because I want to support you, even though I know I'm not getting any paid content yet. And it really surprised me how some of our students got quite a lot of paid subscribers that way. That's something I would not have anticipated myself. But that can be, you can at least turn on your paid tier, maybe be transparent about the fact that there is no paid content yet and that it might take a while before there's any paid content. But if people want to support you, that's the way they can support you. If you take that approach, it won't take you any extra time while you can already get paid subscribers. Otherwise, I totally agree with you, Derek, that you will dilute your focus too much if you only have 1 or 2 paid subscribers and you now need to create, a premium resource once a week, for example, or every 2 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, one of the big things about getting paid, whether it's paid subs or creating a product or something, is how it changes how you think. And that idea of when you sell your first thing, people say when you make your first dollar online, it can just change things for you completely, that you start to think, actually, I've got something of value to share. And so there is a lot of advantage in crossing that milestone, because then you start to a world just opens up, because you can sometimes not believe that people will pay you money because they see value in that. But I think it's known how you're wired. And if you are wired that you start to put paid on and then you feel a pressure to create stuff, or because it's not always easy to grow your paid subs. And if you feel that goes slowly and that discourages you, I think it's known how you're wired a little bit. So you don't kind of get discouraged, because it's a long game. Do you know what I mean? It's a long game. So you don't need to kind of rush it, as it were.
Yep, absolutely. I see two more questions in the chat. One of them is, can you define premium content? Yeah, so basically premium content at Substack, it is something you change in the settings, right? So you'd write a post like any other, but then in the publishing settings, you can actually say whether it is a paid post, so premium content, or a free post. Or you could even insert a paywall like halfway through an article. It could also be that you upload a video or audio, anything like that, and just make the settings as paid content. So that's what we mean when we talk about premium content.
Yeah.
Um, Another question, Substack doesn't offer email sequences. How are you welcoming new subscribers? Is it only from a single welcome email provided by Substack, or do you do anything different? How do you do that, Derek?
Well, so might get slightly complicated, and I don't know if we want to kind of go there. But yes, I have a welcome email, which is just your one email, which is to tell them what's coming and maybe give a hint of what paid would get. But I also put my subscribers into Kit once a month. So that's like a different email platform where you have a lot more control over what you can send them and that sort of stuff. And that's where I would engage with subscribers and send them more quality content and try and sell them some products and offer them kind of more stuff. You have a lot more control there. I don't want to make it too complex, but you have a lot more control there. So once a month, I would just put all my new Substack subscribers into Kit, and they'd get an email saying you've been added to this. If you don't want it, then just unsubscribe. And from that, they would get a stronger welcome sequence about who I am and what I could offer, so they get more of a sense of who I am. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the same thing for us at Ride Build Scale. We also use Git, but that's the thing. We've been using Git, or previously called ConvertGit, for 6-7 years before we were even on Substack. So we had everything set up already, and that's where we had big email lists through Medium and other social media platforms. So my recommendation is, if you're new to Substack, you don't have any other online audience or email list, don't bother with Git yet. It can be a very good tool, especially if you have digital products that you want to sell more on autopilot. But that's more for the future, I would say. I think for if you just get started, that welcome email that Substack offers you, yes, it's limited, but you can, I would say, use that to its full potential. What we have at Right Build Skill in our welcome email is, of course, just thanking them for the subscription, but we quickly send them to our best pieces of content that we know had the most engagement and that our audience loved, because it's like a first impression, right? When you meet someone new in real life, first impression matters, it counts. So in that email, immediately send a few links to your best content. Set the tone for what they can expect, right? Once a week, you'll get a post, or twice a week, you'll get a post, one of them free, one of them paid. Um, and yeah, usually in the PS, we have some sort of call to action, whether that is maybe upgrading to paid with a special discount, or sometimes we just ask them to engage with us, like reply to the email with their number one writing goal, for example. So we have more data on what our target audience wants.
Yeah. I found a question that we've missed from Joe. So he's asking, so for novices, what's the proper balance of finding your voice, establishing a format, and using writing posting tools? So I presume he's meaning the balance between finding your voice and using other formats, established tools, etc. Like, yeah, do you just follow formats and templates, or do you kind of find your voice and express yourself and stuff? For someone who's quite new, what's the balance between that? Do you think, Gary?
Mm. That's a great question. I think what matters far more is that you do and that you write, rather than, okay, should I do this myself or should I use templates? Because ultimately, you get better with repetition, like any skill. Templates can help you think in terms of, okay, this is maybe a type of format that can get a lot of engagement. So I see that more as like training wheels that you can use, right? But um, absolutely feel free to just first get started, like you said, get going, even if you don't make use of any templates. And that way you kind of like find your voice, and your voice, your writing style will also develop over time. It won't stay the same, even if you've like found it. It will always keep changing in my experience. Um, but I personally, I've always been like this, especially when I looked at businesses, funnels. I like to reverse engineer stuff. So I like to look at a business that's working, that's very profitable, or a funnel that's working. And I like to reverse engineer it to see, okay, why does it work? What are some of the principles I can take away from it? But then make it my own, right? Then give it my own twist to it, my own style to it, my own insights to it. But that's just a personal preference. If you prefer the other way, if you, let's say, you just get excited about writing about certain topics and you don't want to follow certain frameworks, by all means, just go ahead and write and publish.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, sometimes people think that there's opposites in terms of expressing yourself and finding your voice versus using kind of formulas or templates or whatever, you know. And even the best writers, there will be standard like templates or formulas, because that's just how it, even Hollywood in movies, do you know what I mean? They start with creating the tension, setting the scene, and, there's the big climax and then the reveal. They don't put the solution at the beginning of the film, because there's a standard way of doing it. It's the way that we're wired, etc. So the best templates and the best kind of formats help you to fully express yourself, you know, in the right way. But obviously, if you're quite new and you're not sure what you do, and you will probably follow it quite rigidly in the early days, but that's absolutely fine as well, isn't it? And I get this thing about finding your voice quite a lot. It's quite an interest. It's like this mysterious thing, isn't it, of what your voice is and that, and it's just about like being comfortable enough to share your personality and be interesting, and just to, the danger is you get advice, don't you? And you listen to what people say, and then you think that's what I need to do, and you can get quite wooden. But like, you need to just let your personality out, as well as knowing there's just certain things that work and certain things that don't work, and some of the like writing advice or templates, it's because certain things just don't work and certain things do. It doesn't matter how creative you want to be. If you have massive, long, dense paragraphs, most people are going to struggle to read. It's just how it is, isn't it? If your headline is really, no one understands what you mean, you can be as creative and expressive as you want, but people are just not going to click on it. There's certain kind of principles that are just how stuff works. But within that, you can express and be as weird as an interesting as you want to be. And in time, you'll learn what is your interesting weirdness that connects with people and what's the weirdness that doesn't connect with people. And you learn with that kind of as you go over time. I've written however ridiculous number of words, but it's still an experiment. You're still kind of letting things out and thinking, well, maybe I should tell people about this. And you never kind of get to that point. You were saying about your voice there, Yari, that you never like nail it, as it were. It's not this little box, it continues to grow as you grow, really.
Hmm. And I really think that like the tools and templates, what they do is they help you uncover your blind spots, or they help
Mm.
you learn the things that you didn't know you needed to learn, maybe. And I think that's also one reason why your best-selling digital product is like your resource database, right? Your resource bank with both those tools and templates,
Yeah.
because it might actually help you um, uncover like, okay, this is what I've not been doing yet at all. I've not been paying attention to writing good hooks, or I've not been paying attention to how I format my paragraphs. So in that sense, it's almost also like a learning tool, a way to speed up your learning rather than copy pasting the exact template just because it's there or it works for other people.
Yeah, yeah. And actually, the doing that and then just letting yourself kind of hang out within those frameworks, letting the bits of yourself out, you will become more interesting to people and they will kind of engage with you. And that comes with confidence. I remember the day by accidentally, I was on Medium and I think my opening line, I hadn't thought it through very much, but I just said how old I was in my opening line of some random article, which is 51. And I had no writing experience, etc. Just started writing 51, and I got loads of highlights. And I was like, that's a disadvantage, surely, because it's all the tech youngsters who were flying on Twitter at the time. And then you find actually it just humanizes you, and the thing that you think nobody's interested in, actually people highlight, and they're like, well, because I'd say, oh, I'm an old bloke at 51. You get someone who's 79, they've just started writing. And you get this conversation around age and whether age is a disadvantage, and then, so I started to lean into that more. And other people, there'll be things about you, whether it's stuff to do with your kids or your hobbies or your interests or a failed career or business went wrong, something that's about you, then people will find, particularly in the world of AI, people will
Yeah.
connect more and more. So have the template frameworks, but less your personality into it is because the templates are how you write well, but less your personality into it. And that's what people will connect with, I think.
Yep. I love it. Yeah, that's absolutely. I see another good question in the chat. How does Substack rank in ConvertKit, Medium, Gumroad, etc.? Are there other ones worth exploring, and is it worth diversifying? So personally speaking, I am all in on Substack. And I'm saying that as an online writer who's been writing on Medium for 6 years. I started in like 2018. Uh, I'm all in on Substack. Substack is not necessarily a replacement of some of my tools. So for example, I still have Git, ConvertKit. I still have Teachable, Thinkific to sell my digital products and courses. I don't think Substack replaces those tools, but in terms of building an audience, being able to send your content to their email inboxes, right? It's like an all-in-one platform. That's how I see Substack. So they always say that if you're an online creator, you need to build your email list. And that used to be pretty difficult because you had to create content on a platform. Then from that platform, get people somehow on your email list, right? And then you would be able to send them your offers or your content. Substack, it's like discovery and list building all in one, uh, combined with the fact that we can do lives like this, combined with the fact that you have short form writing in form of notes. So personally speaking, when it comes to growing an audience specifically, I'm all in on Substack. How about you, Derek?
Yeah, I mean, it's about understanding what each of the tools does, isn't it? And if you're wanting to kind of build an audience and make money, you need those three things. You need to be able to find new people, you need to be able to contact them via email, and then you need some way of selling them something. And they're the three things you need to kind of get covered. And Substack, normally the first two of those, as you said, Yari, were on different platforms that were at war with each other. Because if you're on social media, they don't want you to go anywhere else because they lose money. And so therefore they would make it really difficult for you to share links, for example, So people would like saying link in the comment because you couldn't put it in the post because it gets suppressed. But Substack joins that up. So notes and your subscriber list are joined up on Substack and it encourages that. So that means that the fastest way to grow for a writer at the moment is on Substack because the notes and the recommendations and your email list are all joined up. And then you can turn on the paid subscriber if you want. The only difference is if you want to create digital products and make money that way, you probably need extra tools like I use Thrivecart, you use other things, ConvertKit, you need a few other things. But if you're not creating digital courses and products, then Substack is enough, really. But it does the first two parts of that, which used to be really difficult for creators. But Substack makes it really, really easy. And if someone hasn't built on another platform, you don't understand how easy this is compared to what all of us have been wrestling with on LinkedIn or Twitter or Medium, for example.
Yeah, that's so true. I think one last question because we were scheduled for half an hour. We're already 40 minutes in. I see time flies when you're having fun. Um,
Yeah.
I see the mechanics of Substack. When I write a note, who sees it on Substack? My subscribers, my followers. So this is a common question. Like your notes, that is seen by your followers and potentially completely new people who don't follow you, who are not subscribed to you, because notes does make use of an algorithm. So if your note gets a lot of engagement, the algorithm will push it in front of new audiences, new people who don't know you yet. So notes in that sense is more like a growth tool. Your long form posts that you send out through your publication, they only go to your subscribers, right? To the people who've actually said, yes, I want to subscribe to your publication. And it goes to their email inbox. So that's really an important distinction right there.
Although because of the link between notes and your publication, you can promote your publication on your notes, can't you? So you do find that more than your subscribers can read them, but it's not the
Yeah.
same level of as notes is really write notes for new people, really targeted people who don't know you. Keep them short and snappy, and they may be interested in you, and then they're going to kind of check you out.
Yeah.
So that probably affects how you think, isn't it? So when you're writing, you're in your long form, you're trying to build trust and credibility with people who already know you. Whereas your notes, think about this person doesn't know me. How do I say something of value that might get them interested? It's a slightly different mindset shift as well in terms of writing, isn't it?
Exactly. Exactly. All right. Well, everyone who tuned in to this live stream a bit later, on Thursday, Sinem, Philip, and myself are giving a Substack Growth Masterclass. It's completely free. Derek is one of our partners helping us promote this masterclass. So if you want to be there live or get the replay to your email inbox, sign up for the masterclass. Send Derek a message. He has a special link for you to be able to join. On that masterclass, you will learn exactly how we've been able to grow the Right Build Scale publication from 0 to 10,000 subscribers in 10 months. So, of course, we hope to see you all there live on Thursday. Derek, thank you so much for the live. I think we covered a lot of questions, and you had some amazing tips to share with all of us. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. Love helping other writers and just sharing what we're learning.
Exactly, exactly. And I want to thank everyone here for tuning in and for asking your questions. It's always a bunch of fun when people are active and asking questions. So thank you all. And see you all in the next one.
Bye bye, bro.
Bye bye.